Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Thank you for choosing to be watching tonight because tonight we've got, I'd say, huge news because we're going to be talking about the Ford Maverick, but we're also going to be talking about the F-150 Rattler because the F-150 Rattler actually has a connection to the Ford Maverick. I have an odd memory for anything that is history, whether it's long history or short-term history. So you heard it here first. I think there's going to be very much so a Maverick Rattler. And I'll explain in the video why I think there's going to be a Maverick Rattler, what evidence I have for that. But first, we're going to talk about the F-150 Rattler. What is it in regards to other models? You know, last week we talked about the Roush F-150, which I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about because we already did last week. And I feel that I really like Ford's option of the Tremor from factory. But we're also going to be talking about microchips, because some of the comments I've been getting on my channel as well as other channels is that Ford is only focusing on building the models that pay, so high trims. So I'm going to talk about how that actually is not the case, and I'll use evidence from the Ford Maverick as well as the F-150. And part of that evidence is, well, the Rattler. So let's just jump right in. Let's put the pedal to the metal and get to all the good stuff. But first, I want to wish you all a very good pre-weekend. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you find this information helpful, useful, or just entertaining, I really do hope that you will like and subscribe, because by subscribing you're helping to feed a poodle, and well, that's how we got the drone for the channel. We get to upgrade our equipment as the channel grows, and I hope that you'll join the community. Now, if you have questions, please throw them in. We've got a community here that I think we've got a good community, and I think actually we have a great community because we answer each other's questions, and we're not just, you know, throwing out information that's incomplete or inaccurate to try to get everyone worked up, because here we're all about the real deal. So let's jump in on that F-150 Rattler and how it affects really and tells a whole story about what's going on with the microchip issue and what that means for our Mavericks arriving, and also what it means for a future Maverick model, which I think will probably debut as a 2023 option, or worst case 2024, unless Ford scraps it all together, but I doubt that, and I'll explain why at the end of the video. So the F-150 Rattler, what is it? Well, it's certainly not an STX. An STX is kind of like when models come out with an ST model. So there's been talk about maybe getting a Maverick ST model, and I'd say what's popular right now is off-road focused machines. I'd say we're about to jump into what you could say is an off-road war battle between manufacturers. In the past, you know, let's take the 1960s. There's a horsepower battle, and it's all about how big your engine is and how much horsepower it makes and how fast you accelerate. Well, now when it comes to electric, of course, it's all about autonomy, range, and charge times. But when we're talking about, you know, trucks and anything that can really be seen as an off-road machine, we're talking about a new battle, a new war that's being waged, and that's the off-road war. So what is this Rattler? Well, the Rattler is an XL, and it's the complete opposite of an STX. An STX is made to be a sport light. And whether it's a Lariat Sport or an XLT 302 or 301 Sport, the STX is the light version of it. So you're getting that, what you could say is a fancy sport truck look for much less. Now that's what the Rattler is. The Rattler is a Tremor light. And actually, the Tremor, in my opinion, is a Raptor light. So I'd say that the Rattler is maybe a Raptor extra light. Sorry, that's I'm comparing everything in terms of a certain beverage that I do enjoy when the weekend rolls around and that I take responsibly. But let's talk about what the Rattler is going to have on an XL model. First of all, it's only coming with a 5.5 foot box. And so far, the engine options looks like you'll have a 2.7 liter and a 5 liter as well, and the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. So we're gonna have engine options, which is different than the Tremor. The Tremor, you're getting that. You can't I believe you can't have the 2.7 liter on the Tremor. I'm going to be covering that soon in depth and fully, but from memory, the only option you've got on the Tremor is the 3.5 liter twin turbo EcoBoost. Now, if anyone in the comments section wants to clarify that, please go right ahead. We're a community here and we're all here to help. I want to get the news out as quickly as possible. So I didn't want to focus in on the Tremor when I'm going to be doing a review shortly on a Tremor, because I got a fantastic road test in on a 3.5 liter EcoBoost. Fantastic sounding exhaust. But this Rattler, let's talk about how it's a Tremor Light or a Raptor Extra Light. Well, it's going to have dual exhaust like the Tremor. So that is a really nice option. Some people are going to call that, you know, the wheelbarrow exhaust. Well, personally, I like the dual exhaust in the rear on the Tremor. It looks good and it sounds great. Now, I don't know yet if we're going to have active exhaust as an option on this Rattler. I would certainly hope so, because that is fantastic. But what we do know for sure, well, it's going to have all-terrain tires. It's going to have mags that actually match the spy photos of a Maverick that was being tested back in November. I talked about it. I said that I kind of felt for the Maverick that there's more chances that they'd first introduce an ST, being that the Maverick is, I thought Ford would focus less of it being an off-road machine, that they'd save that for the Ranger and the F-150. But now I'm pretty convinced the Maverick will come also as a Rattler, because those spy photos back in November had the same shape of mag as this F-150 Rattler is being shown with, but the colors are different. It was magnetic, like a dark gray, and kind of a silver brushed metal mix, but it was the same shape of mag that the Rattler is getting. So that's a huge bombshell. You heard it here first. I definitely think the Maverick, being that they're testing this and there were spy photos, I think we're going to see a Maverick Rattler, but on the F-150, and I think it'll probably follow a very similar setup. So personalized graphics and badges. You're on your F-150, once again, only the 5.5 foot box. So if that doesn't work for you, this vehicle doesn't work for you. And same thing for the Tremor. It's coming with a 5.5 foot box. But this tells a lot of what's going on at Ford, and that leads to microchips, supply and demand, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But let's quickly finish up what else the Rattler has. So it's being reported that it's going to have rattlesnake-inspired graphics, of course, the painted 18-inch wheels and dual exhaust system. Now, the wheels, Ford, I hope, like on the Tremor, they don't try to say that you're getting more lift out of the vehicle because the wheels are what we call 33-inch, but they're actually 32.6 in tire sizes. We always seem to round up. I don't know what's going on there, but we call them 33-inch. And actually on the Tremor, if you put in the dimensions and you run them through a tire inch calculator versus the regular tire, you end up with the same dimensions. You know, you end up with the same overall inch of tire. But of course, these tires are going to look a whole lot more aggressive and be more aggressive, because kind of like a Bronco Badlands, you're going to have some grip on the sidewall of the tire to help push you through snow and mud. And I certainly do hope that these will be 3-peak snowflake rated, because if so, like my Bronco Badlands, it's going to be a go everywhere machine. You can drive it down to Florida and be dealing with 28-degree weather, and you can also be driving through the snow up in Canada. Now, the Rattler is going to be coming in 8 colors. You've got Oxford White, Avalanche, Iconic Silver, Carbonized Gray, Stone Gray, Agate Black, Antimatter Blue, one of my favorites, and Rapid Red Tri-Coat, another favorite of mine. I think it would have been cool to have a Bronco in Rapid Red Tri-Coat. Now inside the F-150, like the Tremor, so this is, you know, Tremor Light, it's going to come with its own stylized seating, and it's going to look, I think, a little bit like the inside of an STX from what we're seeing from pictures. It's going to have, of course, the 8-inch touchscreen. We can tell from what Ford has shared, and the color scheme is going to be desert style, and we hope that to find, I hope that they'll badge it, like the Tremor's got Tremor written on the seats. It looks really cool. Well, I hope they put a rattlesnake logo in the seats. That would just be incredibly cool. And, well, what does this mean at Ford? This means Ford is doing the opposite of what people think they're doing. A lot of people think Ford's only delivering the high pay models. So, for example, I've heard, Ford is mostly delivering Lariat Mavericks because that's what pays, or fully equipped F-150s. Quite the opposite. Right now, a King Ranch is the model I've seen the most ridiculously long delays. And why? Because it has a lot of microchips, especially if you have the massaging seats that fold out to basically make a sleeping area, a bed. And if you spend that kind of money on your truck, you might be getting kicked out of the house and need to use that bed. But that's the model I've seen the worst delays. I've actually seen delays of over 12 months on an F-150 King Ranch if it has every possible option. What Ford's doing here is Ford is offering what will probably be low cost. Now, Ford hasn't revealed pricing on the Rattler yet, but I'd suspect it's going to be just under the price of, it's going to be similar. You know how a Tremor adds, let's say you have an XLT 302 Sport and you want to go Tremor, you're spending about $6,000. Well, I think the Rattler is going to be adding as an XL option. I have a feeling it's going to be sitting around for $4,000 to add on, because if you look at the STX, which is purely graphics only, it's only a visual upgrade to the XL, it doesn't cost all that much. It's actually very inexpensive to add an STX package to an XL, but it does force a 101. So it requires a minimum of equipment. Now I expect the Rattler is going to be the same. So probably it's going to come down to, some people will see it as, let's say, a $2,000-$3,000 option, whereas because it forces certain options on, what would be the equivalent of a 101, maybe it's going to be, some people will view it, if they're just looking at a pure XL, some people will view it as, a $4,000 option, or because likely this is going to be, I can only imagine, a vehicle offered in 4x4, because it's an off-road vehicle. Well, maybe some people will view it as, over $6,000 because they're building a 2x4 XL. So just to make it very clear, I highly suspect this machine with its, off-road inspired, off-road intended shocks, which with the Bronco I've experienced is fantastic on bad, main roads that are bad with potholes. It's just incredible at dealing with. So I expect this to be incredible off-road and on-road. But it's got off-road shocks. It's got skid plates underneath. Some people are saying that this is like an FX4 package, and I'd say not at all. While it does have hill descent control, and it does require the rear diff to be lockable electronically, meaning just off the steering wheel to the right, there'll be a button. By then we'll see whether it's a button or, a knob, but there'll be a manner to electronically press of a button, electronically lock your rear diff so you can get better traction off-road. Hill descent control is all about maintaining control when you're going down hills. You've got the off-road shocks, you've got the skid plates, but this isn't like an FX4 package because it's going to come with a lot of visual goodies, badges, stickers, and I do suspect the interior to have really cool seats with the little logos and the dual exhaust. So this has got more than an FX4. It's truly a Tremor light. It's basically Tremor for XL models, but Ford is focusing our attention and focusing orders on a model that requires less microchips. So this does, some people have said that there's no real microchip issue. It's just a conspiracy between dealers and Ford so that they can make more money. Well, first of all, Ford doesn't make more money when dealers charge over MSRP. They make less money because it affects their reputation, and they're not making any extra money from what the dealers make selling these over MSRP. Secondly, if Ford was just concerned about, making the biggest top dollar, they'd want to draw your attention to, an XLT 302, or even more so, which is already a bargain for all it gives us. They'd reserve all these microchips for production of King Ranches, which, as I said earlier in the video, King Ranches have had the worst possible delays of all F-150s, and actually F-150s that have gone through very quickly. From my experience, personal experience, I've seen the XL STX go through the fastest, followed by XLT 302 Sport with 2.7 liter engine and 5.5 foot box. That has been pretty much a recipe for getting an F-150 built quickly. Now, speaking of getting F-150s built quickly and Mavericks, as always, as I've said for months and months since since spring 2021, simple builds get built faster. So I'll repeat that. Simple builds get built faster. And what do I mean by simple builds? It's simple. The more technology you add to your vehicle, the more likely it's going to be severely delayed. So let's say you have a King Ranch and you've got the fold out seats. You've got the massaging seats, which are called multi-contour seats. You have active park assist. You have auto start stop. This is what can lead to a year delay for getting your F-150. Just like I'm experiencing with my Maverick, I've got, probably by the time I get my Maverick, I'll have also had a year delay because we are stuck on the XLT luxury package. We want the heated steering wheel, we want the heated seats, we want the electric driver's seat, and that is causing major delays. More so than the spray-in bed liner, because I'm seeing Mavericks come in that have spray-in bed liner. What I'm seeing the least of are Lariat luxury packages. I have yet to see a Lariat luxury package come in. I have one, I do know of one that's being built in early April 11th to be precise, so soon. But that was ordered back in October, and of course, it's an EcoBoost. EcoBoost is a surefire way of getting your vehicle quicker. It doesn't mean no delays, it just means less delays. And for the least amount of delays, what am I seeing getting through really quickly? EcoBoost XL. EcoBoost XLT straight. The occasional Lariat that's shown up, well, very few, but let's say Lariat, nothing else. But by far the majority have been straight XLTs for the Mavericks and straight XLs. So what can we do about this? Well, first of all, any accessories, I've been also saying this since last summer on your Maverick, any accessories that you can buy from the dealer or aftermarket, don't have them put on at the factory. So if you can avoid the bed liner, if you can avoid a bed cover, mud flaps, bed extender, everything that is something you can buy apart, do so. Order your Maverick, and when you know it's going to be coming in within a month or right away, order up the parts you want from the dealer, from the parts department. Secondly, if you can live without Copilot 360, if you can live without 4K package, and by the way, I've got big news on the 4K. Big news on the 4K is there's a recall. And what's going on with that recall? Well, it has to do with the brakes for your trailer. So the brake controller, 4K, that's the only Maverick that has a brake controller is the 4K Mavericks, those that are made to pull 4,000 pounds. So that means you have to be all-wheel drive and you have to be EcoBoost. Now there's a recall because the brakes weren't always being applied to the trailer. So that is that. And 4K has been causing delays. I've been reporting on this now for a couple months. I suspected something is up with the 4K package. So when there's a recall on something, that means they've got to figure out a solution. And figuring out a solution means, you've got 4K. Well, it doesn't get necessarily built if they know when it gets built, it's going to need to have a recall. So why not build something else instead? And also more microchips. But the big one is luxury package. Ford now, we can see that they're trying to get people into an F-150 XL because the Rattler is going to be an awesome, awesome package. It is a Tremor Light or a Raptor extra light. And really, just on a side note, the Tremor is an incredible value because you get a vehicle with 400 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque, which that's just crazy numbers. Do you really need more? Do you need a Raptor F-150? I think the Tremor, and when I review it, you'll get the full details on it. But I think that's an incredible package. I think the Rattler is an incredible package that proves Ford is willing to put aside the highest profit margins and draw people towards vehicles that require so many more microchips and are trying to draw them into a very much lower profit model. Now, of course, this also helps them be competitive and gives them an edge up, where it's competition. Of course, they want you buying their Ford instead of, let's say, taking GM or Dodge's off-road focused models. So they are trying obviously to sell units, but I wouldn't see this as necessarily a bad thing, because you're going to come across some YouTube channels that are going to say, like, what is Ford doing bringing out a new model when there's all this, all these delays? This is just going to cause more delays. I wouldn't say it's going to cause more delays. What it's going to do is draw the people that want to buy a Ford into a Ford that requires less microchips. Same thing for the Maverick. Why wouldn't they? They've got a huge problem producing luxury package Mavericks. Why not draw people into, the Rattler on that XL? I don't expect whatsoever that it'll have heated seats. I think it's going to be a lot like an STX. It's going to be heated seat. It's going to be without heated seats, and the Rattler is probably going to have some people that were looking at the Tremor model, which of course it's on a 302 or a 502, so tons of microchips, and it's going to draw them into what I think is going to be the Maverick Rattler, and it's going to draw them into models that require less microchips, so Ford can produce more units, which means happier faces, because for people that really definitely will not live without a luxury package, well, more chances that the microchips they need, if and it's not about switching microchips between models, but if a huge percentage or a certain significant percentage of Maverick buyers switch into, let's say, a Rattler. Same thing for the F-150. Well, your low supply of microchips that do come in can go into the hardcore, I won't live without my luxury package group. Well, the chips that do come in, they can go into those. So I think the Rattler is going to be a model to draw people who will be ordering and who have already ordered into swapping into, I can definitely think if I had an XLT Sport 302 on order and I get this Rattler as an option, I'd probably switch my order to the more off-road focused F-150, because that's what's hot right now, that's what's popular, so that's what's going on with Ford. Now, thank you very much for watching part 2 of the Rattler and what it means for other Ford models. It means there's going to be a lot of off-road options, and Ford is trying to draw us into models that take less microchips. But please join me tomorrow in the next video for what all this microchip nonsense really means. What are we losing from models? What options do we have to really make our orders take less long well, there's going to be delays one way or another, but to avoid extreme delays like 6 to 12 months, and even sometimes 14, 15, 16 months. A lot of that depends on where you ordered from, and a lot more is going to also depend on what you have and don't have on your order. So stay tuned, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.